Welcome to my paragliding mishaps video for the summer of 2022. This happened on a fairly strong thermal day. I had just exited a thermal about 10 seconds before, and
I'm out of here. Yeah, that was a real toss around.
it was a total collapse, and I felt weightless for a second. I tried to catch the wing a second time and barely did. It'll be interesting on my SIV that I'm going to be taking next month, how closely it simulates actually what happened here. It was probably a frontal. The odd thing about this is on this new wing, I'm at the top of the weight range and hadn't even experienced a tip flipping over in all the strong days before this. So this must have been a real huge gust of sink, I guess. This landing was probably the sketchiest I've ever experienced. This was the first flight on my new wing, and being at the top of the weight range, I had thought perhaps my glide was quite a bit less than usual. I had used the speed bar to get here though, so it was actually wind conditions. And pinned. Pinned again. There's a video devoted to this landing from another perspective. If you want to see that, click the link. They said my head grew 3 sizes that day. I don't know how I didn't notice it while launching, but somehow my left brake was threaded through the lines above the riser. When I pulled on the brake, it momentarily locked down before releasing. As I'm not accustomed to issues like this, I comedically made a big deal out of it.
Houston, we have a problem.
After a while, it occurred to me that a fellow pilot had been showing me a new method to pack my wing, and the usual method I used to sort the risers likely was bypassed. The brake probably popped off the snap in the process, and one of us had snapped it back on after it had become tangled. No big deal, but one more wrap may have been a real problem, especially right off of launch. Lesson learned: check everything.
I think I'm going to try a launch on this.
For this launch, the wind was pretty squirrely, as you can see by the windsock, and seemed to be getting worse. So,
Whoa!
I was picked up twice, skittered over bushes and trees, but all ended well. The big payoff was the thermal conditions.
Woohoo!
Better to be on the ground wishing you were in the air than being in the air wishing, well, actually, this is better. Oh, what bliss.
I'm just going to get it over here a bit. There we go.
This one is a result of strong switchy winds. and avoiding other pilots on launch. The wind suddenly switched to blowing from the left, but I was already lifted up. The windsock indicated this right into 3 of my lines, causing an asymmetric collapse on that side. It was difficult to pull away, but applied the right amount of brake to escape. Oddly, about an hour later, some other girl hooked the sock real good and took it with her. And the launch was packed with pilots and tandems. Oh, what fun. So, here's the injury that ended my flying for the summer, probably until the end of September at least. The site is Mount Prevost on Vancouver Island. I've only been there once before, but in ideal conditions. The wind was partially coming over the back, but from the left a lot as well. Like in this Google Earth image, actually. The result was wind and rotor coming around this outcropping, so we probably shouldn't have been launching at all. The non-cliff launch, here, is much more gentle, but totally in the wrong direction for the wind conditions that day. Earlier on, a hang glider and 1 paraglider managed to launch, after a failed first attempt and a crash similar to mine, but less the arbutus bush. You can see how the wind tried turning his wing after. Thankfully, Jerry came down to rescue me. I was in a lot of pain and wouldn't have relished clambering over the edge to get my wing back up. So, smacked up 2 ribs, but on the other side this time. To finish this video, here's a launch off of Baldy near Vernon. This was pretty funny. There are tree-sized weeds all over the area, and as you can see, I just missed one. It probably wouldn't have made me crash, but it would have hurt in the face. I hope you enjoyed this comedy of errors and maybe learned something from it. I know I did. See you next time.